Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly, presented by Whiskerware Apparel. Along with Doc Lang, I'm Lyle Stokes. Cindy is here with us to help out again tonight, thank goodness. And we got a good one going on tonight, Doc.
Yes, we do. And it's cold in Ohio.
Yeah, it's pretty cold in Missouri, too. But on the bright side of that, yeah, it was 50s here yesterday. It's supposed to be near 60 again Wednesday, so I'm not going to complain too much. But hopefully it'll last, and we'll get to go fishing.
Yeah.
I hear
Can't wait.
You been out at all, Doc?
No. There's still ice on the lakes here in Ohio. I guess some of the guys went down on the river over the weekend and didn't catch anything. So the water still must be pretty cold.
Yeah, I was watching Dieter today, and I watch Dieter all the time, and he was talking about the water out there where he was at being 40s or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 49. Guy is killing me.
I'm pretty sure we ain't seen no 40-degree water around here in some time.
No, actually the ice is just coming off the Ohio River right now.
Well, when it started off of the big rivers over here, in a couple of days, it was gone. Of course, we got the current to push it on down out of the way. Yes, Brian, Cindy's back. Thank goodness, huh? But yeah, it pushed her on out of here pretty quick in just a few days. And I know my buddy Dwayne was down fishing, caught some really nice fish over the weekend down in the St. Louis area. There were some other guys that put some nice fish in a boat down there too. I'm sorry, but I can't remember all of them that was down there, but they was Brian's all excited. You're back, baby. Okay. But yeah, it was they had some good fish that was brought in down there, and there were some great fish caught on the Missouri River. I know Joel Roberts and a bunch of them. Brian Saunders, our buddy from last week, him and Boomer and Willie from the Mud Bums, and another guy was out. They was up there fishing on the Missouri River, and they got into a bunch of fish, caught a lot of fish. I don't think they caught any giants, but that won't be long to where that'll be happening.
Yeah.
We talk about this weather a lot, and we talk about you and me not going ice fishing. Yesterday, Jason Geary went live on Facebook, and he called you and I out. He had put his boat in and motored through the ice and chopped a hole in the ice and was ice fishing through the hole in his boat. And if I was going to do it, that's how I'd have to be.
Yeah, me too.
I enjoyed him doing that very much. They caught a bunch of really nice bluegill. And then last night, Luke and Jacob Halls and Peter Warner and Blake Bednar, they was all up there with some guests. I think on the Minnesota River, they was up there catching sturgeon, or working to catch sturgeon through the ice up there, and they're out there driving their vehicles out on it and then digging holes through there. And as much as I like them guys, I'm not going to do that with them. I'm just not going to.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, if you want to go up there and try, I'll step from the bank and film you guys or something, but I'm not getting out there with them. They got heaters and everything going. I'm thinking that ice and the heater and me and my big butt on there, I'm just not too interested in that. Welcome, Glenn. Yeah. Chris Souders, welcome to the show. Dave Swearington, Belinda Folsom, Dieter Melhorn, Kentucky Cat Band, Fat Boy Dan, Lisa Hill, Mike Simpson, Brett Ernest, Indiana Hunter, James Dockery.
A bunch of them.
Yeah, Marty Gerloff, Jason Huggins, Jeremy Turner, Robert Adowski.
Got 125 watching right now.
Matt Marshall, we got a bunch of you guys in there. Rod Wise, thank you all for joining our show tonight. Just bear with us. We're going to have a good time. Doc, we got a couple of really good guests on tonight with us, and I think that we need to get it started with Terry. He's been doing some wonderful things with video and tournament fishing and just catfishing in general. And, welcome to the show, Terry Rogers.
Thank you, Lyle. I really appreciate it. Appreciate y'all having me on here, and just giving me a chance to, kind of address the catfishing community.
Well, Terry, we try to have people on that are helpful to our sport as much as we can. But not just that. We want guys that are good for the sport, whether they're tournament fisher or bank fishermen or whatever it is. And we've got some bank guys lined up to be on the show with us. But your videos and all the tournaments you fish and stuff is very helpful to the community, because you not only go out and fish and show people to catch fish, you tell them how you're doing it and give them instructions so they can try your methods to see if they work for you. And that was one of the things about Steve Douglas was always good. This is how I do it. And it gives them another venue so they can try something to be more successful themselves.
Oh yeah, definitely. The thing is, one of the things I always preach, is, if you know someone who might not go a whole lot, if you know someone who has never been fishing, if you know somebody's got a kid that might want to go fishing, invite them to go with you. I mean, because, you get out there and you start catching fish here and there, you see this kid's eyes, light up, and you've made an impact on their life that's going to, last for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, possibly their lifetime. Kids are the future of this sport. I mean, they just are. And if we don't raise our kids, to get out there and have fun and enjoy the outdoors, like I did growing up, it's going to be a losing cause, from now until we pass away.
That's exactly right. And, we run Twisted Cat for 9 years, and we was very detrimental in making sure that we got more ladies into the sport and that we got more children into the sport. For some reason, getting kids involved with catfishing is not as easy as I always thought it should be. And I think a lot of the reason is people take it so serious that they just don't take the time to take them. Now, Doc, on the other hand,
man, my grandkids go crazy.
So that's some of the best times of the year is when he gets to telling us about taking them kids out fishing. And my grandkids are just now to the age where you can safely do that. His are a little bit older, and I know that he has some of the greatest times taking them kids, whether they're just fishing or whether they're in the kids' tournaments or whatever.
Right. Yep. Another thing I always preach, is it isn't about how many you catch or how big of a fish you catch, or if you've got pictures of trophies or whatever. It's all about how much fun and enjoyment you get out of it. I've been out on the water, on days where I didn't hardly catch anything, but, just being there is something that, something just kind of gets into you, and you fall into it. You love it. That makes a good day is just, being out there, enjoying, what God's given us to enjoy.
That's right. And while you're at it, you can teach them about conservation and selective harvest and all the things that is so important to all of us.
Exactly. One I had a question the other day that was asked of me is, why don't you keep some of those big fish? I was like, well, there's two reasons, and these just my personal opinion, my personal reasons for doing this. Number one is you look at the ratio whenever you go out to fish, you go out catfishing, look at the ratio of how many small fish you catch to these trophy fish. You might catch, 40, 50, 60 small ones to one trophy cat, or maybe 100 to 1. You take that one out of the equation. Well, that ratio, you just shot that ratio, all to pieces. You keep on taking the trophy cats out of that equation. Pretty soon there's not going to be a whole lot of trophy cats left.
That's right.
And, that's one reason I preach selective harvest. Anything over 10 pounds to me, I throw back just because I want to keep those fish for future generations. Hey, I've got videos on my YouTube channel of me catching, 50, 60 pound blues. I want my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, to be able to have that opportunity to come out, fish, and catch, that size of blues and flatheads that I've been catching. And also another thing about that is I know we've all heard that, the Ohio River is probably one of the most polluted rivers in the United States, as far as PCB contaminations, high metals, mercury, all this stuff. Well, I tell you what, I really don't want to eat a fish that has been in that Ohio River or Mississippi River or wherever for, 40, 50 years, 30 years, ever how long, they might have been. I really don't know how long. I'm not a biologist, so I really don't know how long they live. But, you take a fish that's 20 and 30 years old, just imagine how much of those contaminants he has absorbed in his lifetime into his meat. I really don't want to be eating that and putting it in my body.
I agree.
Or my kid's body or anything like that. So, that's another reason I have.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Any state that I'm aware of will tell you to eat the smaller fish. And I know Doc knows is more up to date on the regulations out his way, but it doesn't matter. Any of the states that surround us all tell you that the larger fish have more of the harmful stuff in them than the smaller ones do. And all of them that I'm aware of encourage you to eat the smaller fish. Realistically, they would prefer you to eat the 5 to 7 pound fish and below, because like you say, the longer they've been in the water, more of that stuff is absorbed into their body and the more harmful it is to you. And that's especially true for younger kids and pregnant women.
Definitely. Yeah, that's, it's not a good thing. So, they're fun to catch, but, you couldn't get me to eat one.
Well, that's the way it's me. I don't eat any of the big ones. In fact,
I don't
clean them either. I mean, I don't want to clean them. It's not that I don't like to eat them, but I don't like to clean them. But if I do, it's something small, 5, 6 pounds. And
Exactly.
When you waller them 40 pounders around, and I've done it, don't misunderstand me. I'm not going to lie to everybody, say I haven't done it. And if I had one that was deep hooked that I didn't think was going to make it, I'd do it again. But I hope that never happens again. But they're like butchering a hog, man, on a piece of wood. They're hard to deal with.
Yeah,
and
they're huge.
5 or 6 pound fish are a lot easier for me to deal with. And if I'm cleaning fish, I prefer to clean them in the boat before I go in. That way I don't have any mess on the boat ramp for somebody else to smell. I don't have any mess at home when I get home other than just washing them down. And that way, whatever else is in the water, the turtles or whatever, they get the benefit out of what I don't use.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I agree 100%.
Justin Browning says 10 years ago, you caught a trophy fish nearly every time out, and now that's done.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just in his area, it's in a lot of areas. But we're going to get into that a little more in detail here in a little while. But that is so true. And selective harvest is one of the most underutilized terminology that I can think of. And people really need to pay attention to that and try to protect our resource so that, like you said, the kids and grandkids and their grandkids and their grandkids can see what a trophy fish or a breeding size fish is like.
Oh, definitely. I agree 100% on that. Selective harvest is the way to go.
Absolutely. Doc?
You guys are beating us up. I swear. Harry, give me a number from 1 to 5.
How about 5?
Number 5 it is.
1. Doc, you want to tell the people about our new people on the RigRap wheel?
The one I got?
The new ones we added today.
Oh, we've got the mud bumps. See how short my memory is already, Lyle. And you just told me. Catfish clothing, correct.
With a K. Now, we don't have we'll have new banners on there for them, but I didn't get them made up yet. But the Mud Bump Supply Shack and Catfish Clothing are new to the wheel this week. And the winner is Michael Chavez, Chavez. And right off of the bat, Michael, contact the Mud Bum Supply Shack. You have won a prize from them guys. And I'm not 100% on what it is, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. It might be a gift certificate. It might be a shirt. It doesn't matter. If you will get a hold of them on their Facebook page, they will hook you up and get you your prize. Thanks for watching Catfish Weekly and playing the RigRap prize game. And thank the Mud Bums if you would. We appreciate these sponsors. They do so much for us. A little recognition from our show is all they got for the prizes they give. And James Harwood with Hooker's Terminal Tackle, he deserves a bunch, man. He's given away a lot of hooks, and they're a quality product.
Yep.
Boomers. Yep, you're right. Go Mud Bums and Catfish Clothing. That's exactly right. Those guys you know, realistically, fellas, these people don't have to get on here and donate these prizes. They do it because they enjoy the show. They enjoy what they do, and they're supporting catfishing as a sport, and we all appreciate that. And by the way, speaking of Justin Browning, Justin, thanks for watching the show. I know you're going to be interested in what we got to do with the show later on, but thanks for watching. What's that, Doc?
Vonda Woody says, hey, guys, first-time viewer watching with my husband, Scott Woody. Well, congratulations and welcome to the show, Vonda.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's awesome.
You just might get lucky and win something here tonight.
Just might. Scott's won on the show, I think. I know he signed up for it a few times. So, Terry, tell us about your video career.
Well, I don't know if you would actually call it a career, but no, I have a video, YouTube video channel. It's called Rogers Catfishing, Hooked on Cats, and you know, it's just, you know, me out having a good time. I don't know, tips, tricks, you know, just kind of a little bit of everything. You know, I try to do more educational videos, you know, than anything, but most of the time it turns into me just, you know, catching fish and all that. And a lot of the educational stuff kind of, I don't know, I really don't have that, you know, that in mind whenever I'm trying to pull in a fish and, you know, and talk at the same time. But I don't know, this year, I think I'm going to try to do a lot more, you know, educational things this year, because I feel the more that, you know, the more that we, you know, teach, and you know, these younger catfishermen coming up, and maybe people that's just now getting into the sport, the more we teach, the more that they learn, it's only going to expand the sport. And you know, that's one of the big things to me is expanding. You know, this thing of catfishing, you know, it's grown so much over about, I don't know, past, you know, 5 or 10 years, and especially over the last 2 or 3 years, you know, with Catfish Conference and all this going on. I mean, it's exploding. You know, and we're gonna get to a point, you know, where, you know, it's gonna get possibly, you know, as big as the Bassmasters, you know, or something of that magnitude. Now, I hope we do get that big. I mean, it might be several years that, you know, until we get to that point. But I like promoting things like that, and I just like promoting the sport, you know, through my videos, and just making, you know, videos that people enjoy watching. I mean, really, it's just, you know, I'm just a average country guy, you know, from West Kentucky here. I fish the Ohio and Mississippi River in far West Kentucky, and Kentucky Lake, Barkley Lake, Cumberland River, Tennessee River, all of them right around here. It's some great catfishing. And, you know, I just go out and I video my trips and have a good time. And, you know, I don't try to, I don't try to sugarcoat anything. I mean, if I have a bad day, I have a bad day.
Yeah, and I like that about your videos. I've seen several of them. And there's a few of them where you've had a rough day, and
I'm telling you,
yeah.
There's a few of them. You know, I'll put it out there. You know, I don't.
And we all go through that.
Cats all the time, every time I go out. You know, there's 2 or 3 videos there that I've caught 1 or 2. You know, little bitty dinks that's, you know, a half a pound or a pound, and you know, I'll put that on there. I'll show it because, you know, that's what, you know, I believe that's what people like seeing. The average person getting out there fishing, you know, and just having a good time. And that's really what it's all about.
Well, now, fellas, I'm going to tell you something that I think the YouTube videos that we all watch, Terry's, Steve's, Dieter's, Luke's, whoever's it is, I think there's more of a sense of realism in what we watch on YouTube videos than there is on the shows that are on TV. And besides that, we can actually watch catfish shows on YouTube, where TV, it's very few and far between, but the realism is there. Today, Dieter was out, and last weekend, Terry, you was out. You caught 2 fish.
Oh, that was
good fish. Good fish. Yeah, good fish, but you only caught 2. Right. But everybody knew you caught those 2 that day. Where them guys that do them TV shows, some of them are Well, some of it's scripted. It just basically you got.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell that just by watching it sometimes.
That's right. And Luke and them guys, they went to the Red River here a while back, and I mean they knocked out some of the greatest channel catfishing video I ever seen. And Dieter's the same way. He had a tough day today, but it's true to fact. It's very entertaining. My God, if you can't watch some of Dieter's stuff and get a kick out of it every once in a while, you might upset your pulse. But I think the quality that we get through YouTube videos is the quality is better, higher than it is on some of the TV shows.
Right. Well, I think a lot of the YouTube video makers, like myself, it's just down to earth people. I mean, it's the type of people where, you can just go up and start talking to them, and they'll let you know and tell you all kinds of stuff, give you advice, give you direction, answer your questions, anything, you want to know, hey, just ask. And that's the way I am. If anybody wants to ask me anything, hey, I'm an open book here. I'll let you know anything and everything. And I will, I might not have all the answers, which, nobody does, but, I definitely.
You're right, Lee. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, I'm 49 years old, and I'm still learning. It's still a learning experience for me every time I go out on the water. Yeah,
it is.
But the thing is, the allure of the catfish videos, and all the people that are making them are most of the people that do that are so down to earth and so approachable, and they're just good old country people that just love the sport.
That's right. Mike Chavez is another good guy to watch. I enjoy his videos.
Mike's a great guy. He's got a great YouTube channel. Great videos. There's so many of them out there. Like Mike, and myself and Steve, and there's just so many of them out there. They're great to watch. It's great to pass the time. And there's so many educational things that you can learn. From people like that. I've learned a lot of things off of watching other people's videos. I mean, I've been catfishing for, oh my God, ever since I was 5 or 6 years old. I grew up catfishing the Mississippi River, and I've been doing it all my life. I love it. But the thing is, like I said before, every time I go out, I'm still learning something.
Yeah,
I'm 49 years old, been doing this for, God knows how many years, and I still learn things every time I go out.
What is it we tell them 40-year-olds, Doc?
Kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, I hit the half-century mark this year, okay? In July, I'm going to hit the half-century mark, and I'm sure I'm going to have some black balloons and black roses and all that stuff somewhere around.
Don't let it bother you, buddy. It's just another day, right, Doc?
Yeah. The only thing, as you get older, the weather is what really bothers you.
That's a fact.
The weather.
I'm already knowing that, and I'm just 49. So
yeah, well, I hate to tell you, buddy, but it ain't gonna get no better with that. Before we get too far into this, Doc, you knew that we had a RigRap Ice Bowl contest of guess the weight, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you know who the winner was?
No, I don't.
Well, I do. And my lovely bride was one person off of winning that contest.
Oh.
Her guess was 99.9 pounds. The winning weight was 103.29, and the winner to the RigRap Ice Bowl contest, guess the weight, Adam Winder.
Yay, Adam.
Adam Winder. All right. Where you go, buddy?
Adam, you need to contact Glenn with RigRaps and get your prize deal set up. Congratulations. Great job. You was pretty close. I know Cindy thought when they said 103, she was right in there. She was right in there, but not quite good enough. So that's a great deal for Adam to win that. I know that was a great prize pack. So he ought to be very happy with that. And 101 on a 103 weigh-in is pretty good.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
All right. So while nobody has lit me up yet, so I'm going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and spin that wheel again. One more time. Give me a number from 1 to 5.
4.
Number 4 it is.
1, 2, 3, 4. And the winner is Lauren Legrand, Lauren Legrand. Thanks for getting weak, Doc. Bass and More. Lauren, if you will contact Jim, Sheila, and Brandon at Bass and More in Owensboro, Kentucky on their Facebook page and tell them you want a prize on the RigRap prize wheel game with Catfish Weekly, they will get your prize out to you. Thanks so much for watching Catfish Weekly and playing our game.
Michael's in the chat. Mike told me he wanted
Michael?
Should
Mike Chavez?
Yeah.
If you are, I know that you're in here. I seen you just a minute ago. You happened to win a prize on the prize wheel earlier today on this show with the Mud Bums. You might contact them and collect on your prizes. I know they'll be glad to send it to you.
Brian's lighting Cindy up. That's a little weak.
Yes. I have to start pumping them things again.
Yeah. Terry, tell everybody your channel, your YouTube channel. We got people asking questions about it.
The YouTube channel is Rogers Catfishing / Hooked on Cats. That's the name of the YouTube channel. And like I said, if you like the videos, hey, like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. YouTube's doing away with a few options, to people that don't have 1,000 subscribers on their channel. And, it's no big deal to me, but, hitting 1,000 subscribers is kind of like a milestone. So, it'd be nice if I could get there, so I'm just asking everybody, go and subscribe if you can, if you like what you see. Absolutely. And, if you don't, well, hey, leave me a message or something, or shoot me an email and let me know what you don't like. And maybe I'll try to, do something that you do like.
Yeah, you're not going to please everybody. I mean,
I've already found that out.
No, yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. And for the people that doesn't understand how YouTube works, on every view that becomes on a channel, say every view that hits on there, you get a percent of a percentage. So if you take 1% and divide that into percentages, you get a percentage of that 1 cent. It's not like you're getting rich off of them.
Oh, no, good Lord. You're not getting rich off of it. Matter of fact, I've never even collected a check from them, to tell you the truth.
Well, so, we've been doing it for 3 years, and we've had 2 or 3 now. So I mean,
it's not a career choice. Let me tell you.
No, you can't quit your job and make YouTube videos. I promise you.
Definitely not. The reason I do it is, like I said before, it's to grow the sport.
Right.
And that's the thing I love doing is just growing that sport.
Well, we have to enjoy what we do. I know Doc enjoys being on the show, and we really have a great time with everybody. But if you think you're going to make a living doing this, you're sadly mistaken. But if we can help somebody, if we help one person each week to catch another fish that they might not have caught, or to at least get out and go and make the attempt, the whole thing's worth doing.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. It's like I said earlier, getting somebody out, that had never been before, or whatever. That's the best thing in the world to me. Watching somebody's face light up that hasn't caught a fish, or a big catfish, or any fish for that matter before, watching their face light up, man, that's awesome. And like I said, I've got a little grandson, on the way that we just found out about a few days ago. Actually, I think it was yesterday or today that we found out he's going to be a boy. And I tell you what, it's very exciting to me because that's another fishing partner for me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get him out in the boat and bring him up like I was brought up and taught, with the morals and respect, that I have been taught throughout the years, growing up by my grandfather and my dad and my whole family, with the fishing and all that. So, it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, I promise you, there's a lot worse things these kids can do and do other than catfishing.
Oh yeah, definitely. My theory, is if you can get them out on the water and keep them out on the water and keep them fishing while you're keeping them out of the drugs and everything else, maybe that they might be getting into doing that. So, and
they are the future of not only our sport but every sport.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Terry, Swamp Diver Outdoors wants to know, have you caught an alligator gar that Kentucky State has been reintroduced into the Ohio River in western Kentucky, or has anyone caught one?
I have known of a few people that have caught them, but I believe under Kentucky regulations, alligator gar are not permissible to keep. They're not permissible to, go hunt for as in bow fishing or anything, because they were put there by the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife as an attempt to control the Asian carp population, because that is one of their main forage fish is the Asian carp. And long-nosed gar, I've caught Lord knows how many of those things. Hate them. But,
yeah.
But yeah, the alligator gar, they've been introduced here in western Kentucky. And, like I said, I've never caught one yet. But, if I do, definitely release it. Even though it is a gar, they're put there for a purpose. So, but to answer your question in short form, no, I haven't.
I would like to know which you despise the most, catching those gar on a hook or getting them in your throw net.
I tell you what, they will mangle a throw net.
Oh.
A hook, I can deal with. I can deal with, unhooking them or whatever.
Yeah,
but
cut
man,
the
I tell you what, you get one, and it doesn't have to be a big one. It could be a small one. Man, they will mangle the crap out of a throw net.
Yeah, and if you have to get more than one of them in there,
do what?
If you have to get more than one of them in there, it's really bad.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've done that before, man. I tell you what, I've cussed and fussed and thrown and everything else, and wound up just saying the heck with it and cutting them out of it. It's
right.
Sometimes just bad enough to where you just lose the net.
Yeah, I've still got the scar on my hand from the one that Lyle caught it. Monsters on the Ohio.
That was a bad day.
Yeah.
That was real bad. Yeah.
We thought we had a good fish, but it didn't turn out. Muddy River Catfishing has joined the show. Welcome, Chris. But yeah, that was a pretty rough day. Doc lost his multi-tool, got his hand cut, had to get bandaged up by Dr. Cindy in the boat. And,
oh yeah,
it was just.
I'll tell you what, I've got a story that's kind of sort of similar to that. This last the past monsters on Ohio. Me and my fishing partner William Clapp there, we took off and we were going to go upriver, and we went upriver to a spot. This was just one of those spots where we knew we were going to catch some big fish, because the previous 2 days we had spotted these fish. We'd marked them, they'd been hanging around there, so we knew. Well, here we go. We go up there and we're going to put the trolling motor down and drift this area, this long stretch. And lo and behold, as soon as I dropped the trolling motor and turned it on, it wouldn't work. And I was scrambling at that point. This is the first thing right off the bat. Well, turns out we fried the control board on it. I have no idea how, but the way the control board got fried. So, we were dead in the water pretty much. We ended up, having to anchor on a few secondary places, that we had picked out and saw fish, and we caught 2 or 3 little ones. But man, we were just so disappointed, But hey, that's just that's just the way it is. Sometimes, sometimes you do good, and sometimes you just have days like that where you just want to throw in the towel.
Doc, you have a question in chat.
Yeah. When is the conference? 25 days, 11 hours, 55 minutes, and 51 seconds away.
Yep.
Yes, sir. And I think that about everybody's excited to get there. I know that I am. I know that Doc is. I know that Cindy is. I'm guessing Terry is.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely ready for it. Yeah, I'll be in the Monster Rod Holders booth. If anybody wants to come by and say hi, I'll be there both days working with Steve. And I just enjoy meeting everybody. People from everywhere from California to New Jersey and New York and Maine and Florida, Texas, Wisconsin, wherever. I just enjoy talking to people. As you can probably tell right now, I talk a lot, and I can talk catfishing 24/7 if anybody wants to come up and talk to me. So
I think like that is
an open invitation for everyone.
Don't you, Doc?
What's that?
I think as catfishermen, we're kind of all like that.
Oh yeah.
That's
Especially
true.
when
I know.
Especially when we get together.
like we
I
was
haven't met
talking
very many
earlier.
cat fishermen that don't want to talk about it. So
That's right. We was talking earlier, and I mentioned to you guys before the show started that Dieter and I was going back and forth on his show this afternoon, and he told me just to set a chair up. He'd be there with us throughout the days at the Catfish Conference, and I told you guys that if we can get Dieter to set in for us a while and get Luke to join in, Doc and I might be able to get up and walk around, see some of the stuff, and just let them do Catfish Weekly for a little bit.
Yeah, and we can do that, especially the guys that already know what to do and go with it. And yes, we are going to have somebody posted in here. We are going to be at Lyle and I and Cindy will be at the conference.
Absolutely. Carl Wells would like to know, Terry, who your sponsors are. He can't read your shirt.
Oh, sorry. Monster Rod Holders, Steve Douglas, he's right here in Kentucky, up around Bardstown. And also Rippin' Lips Rods and Fishing Products. They're out of, I believe, Coral, Iowa.
Yes, it is.
That's my two main sponsors. I have a few little smaller ones, but that's my main sponsors that I try to promote. They do a lot for the sport. And like I said, I'm all for the sport, growing and developing, and any way I can help, hey, I'm all for it.
Brian Saunders, be careful what you tell me. You will be stuck with holding you to your word. If you and Boomer want to sit in for Doc and I so we can look around, because the last couple of years, Doc and I haven't got to see nearly all of everything. And by the time we did get to start looking around, most of it was gone.
Yeah, because I had to pull off Catfish Weekly and go do my seminar 2 times.
Yep. And the seminars are great. And I've got a list for those of you that's been asking about who the speakers are going to be. Well, just bear with us a little bit. I got the list, and we're going to go over that in just a little while. So stay tuned, because we want to.
That's a good list too.
It's
a lot of good speakers.
Yes,
real good.
It'll be a ton of fun. If you guys haven't made plans to make it to the Catfish Conference, you need to take a minute and get signed up to go. Make your arrangements. Stay both days if you possibly can, because I promise you're not going to be able to see everything and comprehend it all at one time. It just takes that much.
The thing is about that is visiting with everybody also. That's one thing.
That's exactly right. And there's not a person down there that won't give you an answer. If you ask them a question, they'll tell you. Yeah,
that's one thing I love about it. It's just meeting everyone. Putting faces to names, and all that. It's really nice. It's a nice meeting place.
That's right. It's a lot of fun, and I see that Major Brown is in the chat tonight. Major was there last year. We got to meet him the first time, Doc. We had a really good time.
Yeah, we did.
He had a question.
Yeah, there was one here. I saw it earlier. Steve, I'm sorry. Yeah, Terry. What does Terry look for when fishing new waters?
Well, the thing is, I love fishing rivers. I primarily fish, like I said, the Mississippi, the Ohio, the Cumberland, Tennessee. Whenever I go to a new place, here's a very good example. Whenever I go to a new place, I look for, if it's a larger type of lake, you look for the ledges. Look for the little drops here and there, maybe a hump underneath, a small isolated island underneath the water. Any kind of warm water discharge. I mean, there's so many variables, whenever you're looking at new water. The first thing I always do, I don't really necessarily look for the water that I want to fish. I try to get the water that I do not want to fish out of the way. I take that out of the equation. And once all of that water is taken out of the equation, I can focus on the water that I really want to look at, and I can go a little bit more in depth on those areas. And like I said, channel drops and ledges, in lakes are just, those are travel corridors for these nice blues. Structure also. I mean, you start looking at rivers with a little bit of current. You want to look at. Oh, good Lord! There's so many variables in that. Also, I look for drops. I look for different current seams, you know, like maybe the ends coming off a wing dike, something like that. The deeper drops and channel bends. There's just, oh man, there's just so many things. I could go on for probably an hour, you know, just talking about things like that. Current breaks are a big thing, though. I really believe. I really like fishing, you know, fishing the drops. I mean, you know, where it goes from like a 20-foot drop to maybe a 30-foot or a 35. You know, those big blues and stuff, they'll stack up right on the leading edge of that hole. You know, and if you're walking a bait, you know, down the river, you know, you're dropping it right in that hole, and they're just sitting there, you know, coming up and picking that stuff off.
Right.
And man, you can walk it straight into their face if you want to. You know, but the thing is, you know, is you got to find the fish first.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
Terry, we have a question. What's your biggest fish?
Biggest fish was 76.
76. Great fish. That's a trophy fish anywhere in the United States.
Oh yeah, it is. It's awesome. I mean, and the thing is, I didn't really think it was that big whenever I hooked into it, because he was kind of he didn't really fight a whole lot. You know, it was just, I thought I was hung on a small log or something, bringing it up.
Yeah.
You know, until he really started pulling back a little bit. But yeah, it's 76 is the biggest one I've ever caught.
That's a giant, man. Jason Geary, yes, the tickets for the Catfish Conference are free. And for those of you that appreciate the fact that those are free for everyone to get in, Steve Douglas has joined the chat. Welcome to the show, Steve, and thank you very much for footing the bill for the tickets for everybody to get in the Catfish Conference. Everybody I know appreciates it, and you all should let Steve know he's done a wonderful thing to get us all in there at no charge.
Yes, that's a big plus, you know, because I've had people ask me how much does it cost to get in. And I said, you know, hey, look, Steve's sponsoring the whole thing by Monster. It's sponsored by Monster Rod Holders. You know, you don't have to worry about, you know, paying anything to get in. It's all squared away. Just register and you're good to go.
Well, that is Doc and Steve been doing stuff for a long time, and Terry's been doing stuff with Steve for a long time. Steve and I work together on a lot of projects, and there couldn't have been a more appropriate thing for anybody to do that's able to do it as to pay everybody's way into the Catfish Conference. That is a great thing to do, and I know personally I appreciate it, and there's thousands of people that's going to be showing up down there, and when you get there, it will do you well to go over and thank him personally. I know he'll love it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. You
know, Joseph Heron.
That's just one more way of growing the sport also.
That's right.
Yeah. Joseph Heron wants to know, what's the rig you use when you're bumping?
Well, what it is, I use my main line, you know, it's 65-pound or an 85-pound braid. And I usually have a 4 to 6 ounce bank sinker on a sinker slider on the main line, going to a 1/0 swivel, and then about a, 16 to 18 inch leader, 50-pound monofilament, down to an 8/0 size circle hook. They're made by Rip and Lips. I love these circle hooks. They're awesome.
Yeah.
That's 8/0. Yeah, 8/0 circle. You know, it's like a double action circle, and you know, that's basically, you know, my bumping rig. You know, a lot of people, you know, will put a small drop leader off of a 3-way swivel down to their weight. But you know, I found I like it just as good. You know, just with you know, a sinker slider on that main line, just attached directly to a sinker.
Mm-hmm.
My good buddy Justin Wolf is in chat and wants to know if Steve's buying the beer. And Justin, you'll have to let us know if that is poolside or otherwise. He'll know what I mean. Yeah, they both will. Jason Bridges might even know.
Twinkle toes.
Yeah, Twinkle Toes. Jason Bridges. What a guy. Doc, have you got anything else for Terry?
I know he likes to fish a lot of the same waters that I do. Cumberland River, Tennessee River is probably one of my most favorite areas to fish. Speaking of Tennessee River, where do you fish at on Tennessee River?
Well, I'm from just outside of Paducah, Kentucky. So, Kentucky Dam is about 20 minutes from where I live. So, the lower portion of the Tennessee River from Kentucky Dam all the way to where it merges with the Ohio River, I fish that, quite often. Not as much as what I do the actual Ohio itself or the Cumberland, but I'll fish that portion of it, and then also the entire Kentucky Lake portion, because Kentucky Lake is huge. I mean, it runs all the way down through Tennessee. It's backed up from there all the way through Tennessee. So, but I'll tell you what, my favorite portion is the Lake Wheeler all the way to Gunnersville. That's my favorite portion of the Tennessee River. I love it. Around Decatur, I just love that. I just love that area right there. It's some trophy cats in that area. Good deal.
Yep, absolutely. Brian Saunders wants to know, what is your go-to bait, Terry?
Hey, if everybody's asked me that, it's got to be skipjack. Because the thing is here, like I said, I live 20 minutes away from Kentucky Dam. I go up there in the spring, and man, I tell you, I wear the skipjack out. I'll catch 500-600 skipjack a year, and vacuum seal them, throw them in the freezer, and I'll use them throughout the year. And I usually start running out around October or November. But the thing is with skipjack, I believe it's a year-round bait. I mean, that's what I was using the other day when I made the one video where I caught the 2 30-pounders, and I was just anchored off above a small drop, a small hole in the river. And, shad's great, but man, I tell you what, the skipjack, it's just a good solid year-round bait for me.
I'm going to tell a secret that some of these guys up here may not want out, but for wintertime fishing in our area, shad is the bait of choice.
Oh, yeah.
When the water starts warming up, they start turning over to the skips.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing, that you mentioned like that. It also depends on what region of the U.S. you're in.
That is correct.
You take it's not the same fishing, on northern reaches of the Missouri River versus around here, or somewhere out in, North Carolina or South Carolina, as it is somewhere up around Louisville.
Right.
Yeah. It's just so different. Whatever works best for you in your body of water, hey, have at it.
Yep.
And,
I agree.
Yeah.
Now,
that's one thing I encourage also is, take several different baits with you whenever you go out fishing. That's one of my big things there, is because, they might not want shad one day. They might want skipjack. Well, they might not want skipjack or shad. You might even have to go to the old reliable night crawlers. Who knows?
Right. Yep.
But always take a different variety of baits with you, because you just never know.
Doc, did you see Kenny McClure's post?
Yes, I did.
What do you say about doing some of that action?
All right, let's do it. Give me a number, Terry.
See if you can find here.
How about 2 this time?
Number 2. One. 2. And the winner is Zed Moore.
Oh yeah, Zed. Woohoo!
Congrats, Zed.
That is in the chat.
Zed Moore, 5 pounds of sinkers. If you will get a hold of Kenny McClure, he will get them to you. I can't think of anybody that does not need sinkers. I've said that every week. Terry, you're great for our sport. Thank you so much for donating those sinkers. This is what, 4 or 5 weeks in a row. Or Kenny donated sinkers to us 4 or 5 weeks in a row. It's an outstanding thing that you're doing for Catfish Weekly and all the guys that are winning them sinkers. I know that everybody's got to have them. So, thank you again. It means so much to us, and I know the guys really appreciate it. Justin Browning, you are correct. Moon and I are the worst bait ever. Don't ever use them. I would agree with that.
Right.
Anybody,
I'll take everything that you got.
That's right. Anybody that gets them by mistake, feel free to let me know. I'll come pick them up myself personally. because you shouldn't have to use a bait that bad. I'll take them all and dispose of them properly for you. But thank you, Kenny, for everything you do. And I don't know what you're talking about with Aaron, but all right, Doc. What else we got for Terry? I'm gonna have them two messed up here.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, you're just like mixing us up. I'll get you and and Doc mix up here in a minute, and I'll call you Doc and him Lyle.
That's right. Yeah, that's fine. I'll be calling a lot worse. Believe me. I get so excited when he starts donating them sinkers in Chad every week. It gets me pretty wound up, actually. Does the Tennessee or the lake produce more for Terry? The Tennessee and the Kentucky portion?
Well, there again, I'm more of a river fisherman. That's how I grew up fishing. I love the river. I love the current. I know how to approach it and fish it a lot better. So, to answer that, the river portion does produce more for me, but that's just me personally. Like I said, I'm a river fisherman more than a lake fisherman. Although I do love fishing the lake, the river's my first love there.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but I'm becoming a better lake fisherman since I've moved closer to one.
I need to. I definitely need to.
One thing I know, there's some guys visiting about Moon Eye and Chad and Skipjack. I have learned that I'm not saying you cannot catch fish on an area or a lake that does not have skipjack or whatever. You could take it there and maybe you'll catch some fish. But if you fish a lake that has predominantly shad in it and no skipjack, you better be using the shad.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
They don't know what it is. It don't work all that well.
That's just it. I mean, whatever they're used to eating, that's what you need to fish with.
That's
because,
right.
That's what they like. They're used to eating that. So, hey, it's just that's just natural for them.
That's right. Welcome to Catfish Weekly, Aaron Wheatley. Glad to see you join the show. Terry Stone.
Welcome, Aaron.
Outdoors. Yep, it's good to see Aaron in here. Another guy that does a lot for our sport.
Yes, he does. He's a good guy.
He is a good guy. Can't wait to get back down to Owensboro. See Aaron. Can't wait to see the guys at the tackle shop down there. Jim, Sheila, Brandon down at Bass and More. They do so much for us. And, man, do we have a good time down there every year.
Mm-hmm. Jason Stone wants to know, does Terry have tips for suspended drifting?
Well, I tell you what, suspended drifting is, I would have to say, if I had to choose everything, that's my favorite way to fish. One of my biggest, the biggest fish I ever caught, my personal best was suspend drifting. So I guess one of the biggest tips from me on suspended drifting is, don't fish too fast. A lot of people, want to fish waters and cover water, real fast and everything. Well, slow everything down a little bit. Give them a chance to, to find the bait, as you're drifting down the river. Keep it, 1 or 2 foot above the bottom as you're going. Pay attention to your graphs and everything that you're looking at. Because you never know what you're going to run into whenever you're drifting like that. But if you can pick you out a nice smoother type portion of the river, where it's not really got a whole lot of features, but enough, to hold some fish. Man, I'll tell you what, some of that's some really, really, really good prime drifting area.
Yep, that is correct. Somebody asked in the chat, is just a rolling right along about
hey, I like questions. I could talk all night about catfishing. So hey,
here's another one.
Caroline,
let me jump in here.
Okay.
River Rats Real Repair says, hey Doc and Lyle, forget the wheel. Give somebody a free reel cleaning.
In chat.
In chat.
Thank you so much. And is that what he said?
Yes.
No, he didn't say in chat. He just said give somebody a free reel cleaning.
Okay, well, we haven't hit his slot on the wheel. I guess he can't wait to do one, and I appreciate that very much. I got to get some gathered up and send to him, man. I tell you what, thank you so much for that. Another sponsor on our wheel is not going to wait till we hit him on the wheel. He's just going to go ahead and give away a free reel cleaning. So
if you want to do it in chat, I can do it in chat.
It makes no difference to me.
Okay. All right.
How's he want to do it? That's how we'll do it.
See what he says here.
In the
How
meantime,
you want to do it?
you using a Kentucky rig or a Carolina rig when you're catching your fish?
Most of the time I'm using a Carolina rig.
Yep.
I use Kentucky rig a lot. But the thing is, I use a Kentucky rig mostly whenever I'm anchored. I don't know, it's just the way I grew up fishing. Some people say, well, you're fishing all wrong, this way or that way. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're catching fish, I don't think there is a wrong way.
No, there's not.
That's just it. Some people will, I've seen, like on, I don't know, on Facebook, internet, different, chat rooms and stuff where one person, might criticize another person for fishing a certain way, or a certain leader or a certain size weight or something like that. And it's like, man, hey, if you're catching fish, hey, come on, if it works, it works.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now,
I ain't going to criticize anybody, because if they're having fun, they're catching fish. Hey, that's a good thing. I might give a little bit of advice or something, but I ain't going to criticize anybody.
Terry Garrett seems to think that Dieter should donate his ponytail to the RigRap.
Now that would be a good one.
I guess he could do that at the conference, like Cindy said. That might be a pretty good show.
I'll cut him with the scissors.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Well, let's pay money to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything down there is going to be free.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and give it to somebody in the chat.
All right.
That way he can talk right to them. So give me a number, Terry.
How about 3?
1, 2, 3, and the winner is Matt Dawson. Matt Dawson. And I just grabbed that from all the people that are in the chat room.
And that's currently.
Yes.
Yeah, the people that's in there currently. So Matt Dawson, you need to get a hold of them and get your reels fixed up. And that's RigRap Reel Repair. Go to their Facebook page and tell them you was the winner on the Catfish Weekly show and you won the free reel cleaning. It doesn't cost any more probably to send more than one. So when you're getting one cleaned, you probably might consider sending another or 2 down there and getting them done while you're at it. He's very reasonable, does excellent work. Great sponsor to our prize wheel game. Thank you both. Well, Terry, we're running on about an hour. Thank you so much for being on Catfish Weekly. We appreciate you spending your Monday night with us. It's been a great show. We've answered a lot of questions. You've given us a lot of information. It's been a real fun time having you on here.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate y'all asking me and affording me the opportunity to be on here, Lyle. You and Doc have y'all have a great little show going here, a good thing, everybody tunes in, you get to have a little fun, learn a few things, question and answer sessions. Hey, it doesn't get any better than this, it's just a good time. It just is. And I just appreciate y'all having me on here.
Well, we'll get you back on here one of these days. And I know by then people have more questions and you'll have more information. We'll just go on. Now, at the end of our interviews, unless we forget, we always give our guests a chance to thank any and all sponsors or anyone that has helped them along the way. And feel free to take all the time you want to do that, Terry.
Did you say spank?
Did
I hear you say spank?
Yeah, I did.
I'm not going to spank anybody, especially on video. Could be.
All righty then.
But no, I would like to thank like Steve Douglas with Monster Rod Holders. He does a great job, not only for myself, as a sponsor, but as the catfishing, or for the catfishing community as a whole. Right. He's gotten this catfish conference organized. He has put so much work and dedication into this thing. It's just unbelievable. And he's just good for the sport all the way around, I believe. And I'd also like to thank my other sponsor, my major sponsor, Rip and Lips Rods. They are an awesome rod. I'm telling you, they'll handle any catfish in North America, and I'll put my name behind it. And you can just count on them. I love the rods. You can't beat them for the price.
You're they are really pounding
something.
you.
I don't know
I can take it. I can take it. I can tell you, I've been called a lot worse, believe me. Well, thanks again, Terry. And
Thank you.
Well, we're going to be down at the conference. I know you're going to be there. We'll have a place set up. We'll be doing interviews. Please stop by and see us. We'd sure be glad to have you on for a while down there, and we'll have a lot of fun there too.
Oh, I definitely will. I appreciate it. I'll stop in and see you guys.
All right.
I'm looking forward to shaking your hand, sir.
One more question a guy put on there before I forget it. Want to know what kind of live well you're using your boat?
Well, the live well's just factory live well. I've got a Sea Arc ProCat 240. It's got an 80-gallon live well in it, and man, let me tell you, it was it'll handle some big fish in there. So that's what I use, just the factory live well.
More than adequate.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah. Well, here we go. Thanks again, Terry. Appreciate it much.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, buddy.
Oh, man. I might mention before I get off, before we get our next guest on here, Doc, while these guys are all over me like a bad habit, the 12th of February, for the guys that want to know any and all information about the Catfish Conference, we will have Steve Douglas on here telling us everything you want to know and any updates. You can jump in here on the 12th and get all the answers to all your questions about the Catfish Conference. He will be here for the entire show, and that's the time to find out anything that you have questions about. Steve will have the answer, so be sure to join on the 12th of February. And on the 5th, next week, Michael and Terry Littlejohn from Tawakoni, Texas. Should be a great show right before the big tournament down at Lake Tawakoni for Cabela's. Now, without further ado, Doc, we have a guy that you pretty well know, I think.
Oh, yeah. Known him a bunch of years.
We're going to get Chris DeBow in here, and we're going to talk about some of the regulation things that are going on with Kentucky. And Chris, welcome to Catfish Weekly. I've been looking forward to you being on here ever since we got in touch with one another about this. And please share with us any and all information that you can do, and let all the viewers know what's going on down there.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Hopefully, can you hear me okay? Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good job.
So what I was hoping to do is to provide really 5 key updates, but we can sort of tailor this to, if there's a certain way you'd like to go. But I wanted to provide an update to everybody on kind of the team or the group that's kind of working on this behind the scenes. I also want to talk about the legislative process, because I think that's important to understand what's cooking on the legislative front and how that works. I do want to describe our first meeting. We did have a very productive meeting in October. And then we most recently had another meeting, which was maybe 2 weeks ago, that included legislators, the department, and a number of other folks. So a very helpful meeting. And then lastly, I'll talk a little bit how you can help. So those are the key areas I wanted to go into. And again, I think everything's working. Can everybody see me okay, I assume? It's my first time on the Google Hangout. So, all right, so a little bit about the group. The group is comprised of, call it some central team members. I'll name a few of them. There's some folks that are sort of incognito behind the scenes, but Scott Kress, Rob Benningfield, Steve Douglas, Aaron Wheatley, the good folks at Exposing Pay Lakes, Jeremy Coe from Cabela's King Cat, and again, the covert folks. And then alongside that, or parallel to that, kind of that working group, if you will, we have a closed group on Facebook of about 70 people. And those people have provided input as well as people from outside the group. But more importantly, what we want to portray to everybody is that we need to be unified. So, whether or not you fish a monster rod holder or you fish a drift master or a lead or whatever rod holder, we all have one thing in common, and that's we want better catfish regulations in the state of Kentucky. So the more that we stand together and push that front, the better off we're going to be. So that's the team of folks that's kind of been working diligently behind the scenes to kind of get to where we are today. And if I left people out, it's for specific reasons. But again, I have some covert folks that are very active. Before I move on, is there any questions on the team of folks that's kind of set this up thus far? If not, I'll keep rolling. And Doc, I assume you're working the chat boxes, and I imagine there's going to be a lot more questions later as we get into what's happened and what we're proposing.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll jump in there if I see something.
Outstanding. So I do want to talk a little bit about the legislative process, because there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of questions come up about this. But ultimately, when I talk about the department, that's the Kentucky Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Resources. And they're obviously that's run by Commissioner Johnson, and Ron Brooks is the head fisheries director. So those are the folks that run the department. There is also an independent wildlife commission of 9 wildlife commissioners, and those commissioners are appointed and ultimately, or pardon me, they're elected via their geographic region. And the goal and objective of the Wildlife Commission is to provide advice and consent to the department. So, for example, our first meeting, we met with a number of wildlife commissioners because we want the commissioners ultimately to give some direction to the department. So if there is any kind of rule changes in the department, okay, so let's say that the department says, oh, we're only going to allow X number of fish, and they write that into a rule. The Wildlife Commission votes on it, and once it's approved by the commission, it goes to the Legislative Resource Commission in the legislature. Now, even though it has the word Legislative Resource Commission in it, it's basically just the legal operating end of writing laws into statute. The legislators do not vote on that item. It basically bypasses the legislator. So technically, the Wildlife Commission can approve rules or regs. It goes to the Legislative Resource Committee, and then from there, it would actually be it would go into law. And it varies on timing, but typically once something is approved by the Legislative Resource Commission, it takes about 60 days for it to actually be enacted in law. Okay, so that's one way that rules can be changed, by going through the department and or through the Wildlife Commission, ultimately going to the Legislative Resource Committee and then being put into law. The second way you can basically change rules in Kentucky is you can go directly to the state legislators. So whether you go to the House or to the Senate, you can have somebody sponsor a bill, and that bill ultimately would have to go through the House, go through the Senate, and then be approved by the governor. And then ultimately you have a law that is created or new regulations that are created. Okay, so that's really the two main ways to change rules. There is a third way to change rules, but we're not going to go there. It's kind of something we're keeping up our sleeve that we may explore in the future, but there are other avenues. So from a legislative standpoint, I wanted to highlight on that, because when we talk about the commission and timing, if the commission votes on something, it's going to go to the Resource Commission, then ultimately be enacted within about 60 days into law. So okay. I'll pause for a second, Doc, there, and that's the legislative side of how things work.
Okay, Kenneth McClure wants to know, are you guys working for all of Kentucky waterways, or are you just the Ohio River?
Well, what we've focused on is, let me figure out how to answer this correctly. Our current conversations and our proposals do include statewide considerations. So yes, they are statewide considerations. However, the direct focus is mainly the Ohio River and its tributaries, and I'll explain why here in just a little bit. Okay, so it's kind of a political answer, but I'll get into why it's that way in a second.
Okay. You're good.
All right, outstanding. So that's kind of the legislative part of it. I want to talk about the first meeting. So we were able to secure a meeting in October 26th. And Lyle, I did send you a link to the Exposing Pay Lakes page, where we have posted the presentation that we presented at that meeting. Okay, so I assume at some point you're able to get that on the site, or at least you can post that link out there. But we wanted to present to the commissioners. Again, this is the Wildlife Commission, the 9 elected folks. We had 4 of the 9 there. The 4 that we had there actually have land along the Ohio River, hence they have a vested interest. Also at that meeting were a number of Commissioner Johnson, Ron Brooks, a couple legislators, and a number of folks from law enforcement. And what we wanted to do at that meeting was to revisit the increased demand for catfish, not only trophy catfish, but all catfish in the state of Kentucky. Demand has increased what we estimate to be at least 5 or 10-fold in the past 10 years, with more and more pay lakes coming on board. So we made a presentation to that group, and ultimately we talked about the problems with the current regulations, because as we see it right now, the current regulations are unenforceable in their current format. And we walk through why they're unenforceable, and you'll see that in our presentation. But ultimately, you start talking about possession limit. Once a fish is in the boat, a commercial fisherman can claim they previously caught the fish, or they caught it on a different body of water, a la the regulations that are in force right now are for the Ohio River and its tributaries, okay? So if somebody was on another lake that is not restricted and they said they caught it there, then unless they saw them, again, it's all hearsay. The other major problem with the current regulations is lack of manpower to enforce. There's only so many wildlife officers in Kentucky, and they can't be everywhere tracking things down. And what was brought up during the meeting is that if there's a violation, particularly within the commercial fishing regs, there's really no teeth behind it. It's like a $500 fine, a little slap on the wrist. That's not going to deter people from breaking the rules.
No, it's
yeah. So, and we actually had the conservation officers bring up to us, if you're going to change the regs, change the enforcement side, give us some teeth, because they can't spend 2 weeks or a month chasing somebody around in the bushes and then write a $500 ticket. That's not a good use of their time.
That's right.
So we talked about gifting. We talked about commercial fishing log books. So the log books that the Kentucky commercial fishermen have to utilize are basically paper. They file them monthly with the department, and they include, information about how many pounds, how many nets, etc. Let's move to talk about what Ohio does, okay? Ohio has commercial fishing for perch on Lake Erie. They require any commercial fisherman that is registered and licensed in Ohio to have a GPS device in their boat, and 30 minutes before they come back to the dock, they hit a button on it, and it says, "Dear Mr. Wildlife Officer, I'm coming to this port, and I have 1,000 pounds of perch." So not only do they log their fish totals on the water, they notify the department when and where they're coming in for inspection. So we've made that specific recommendation to the department about, hey, you have lack of manpower. Here's an easy way to basically, 2 days a month, you want to go check commercial guys? Well, here you go. You know exactly where they're at. You can see it on your iPhone. So that's talking about commercial fishing logs. We did talk about no statewide regulations. We also talked about no consistency amongst recreational fishermen and commercial fishermen. Here's a huge loophole. So I live up here in Cincinnati. The Licking River it runs right through Covington. So the commercial fishing regulations apply for the Ohio River and for the Licking because it's a tributary, which means any commercial fisherman can only have one fish in their possession over 35 inches. Guess how many fish a recreational fisherman could have in the Licking River? Unlimited. So a commercial fisherman could go out and set 20 trout lines in the Licking River or the Green River and say that they are acting as a recreational fisherman, and there's no limits on the number of overfish that they could take. So again, there are so many loopholes that are with the current regulations. And again, that's of no fault to our team members who worked on this 4 years ago. This comes through experience of working with our team to figuring out how are they work in the loopholes. What are the cracks in this? Because ultimately, we want to be able to shut down the loopholes so that the rules are enforceable. So not to go through every item that we talked about because it's in that presentation, but that's some of the things that we talked about on October 26th. So I'll pause for a second, Doc. I know there's probably a lot of questions flying in, but
No,
let's talk.
yeah, I got one. Why are we not pushing for no transportation of live fish? This would solve the problem with transportation to pay lakes.
Another fantastic question, and we are actually recommending the no live transportation of catfish. Now, there's a couple nuances to this. So, again, I don't want to get into the super legal things here, but Alabama is the only state that has a no transportation of live fish over 34 inches. Okay, that's the way I read it as it relates to Alabama. We have to be mindful that there are interstate commerce regulations, meaning that you can't limit commerce between states. Now, there are, again, exceptions to be made. So you cannot transport live Asian carp anywhere because they're an invasive species. So we believe that we could curtail or shut down the live transportation of trophy fish and or maybe even live fish across state lines. And that has specifically been recommended in October, as well as our most recent meeting last week.
Well, I think that should be a state law in every state in the union. If you take a rabbit, a squirrel, a simple field mouse, or a deer across state line in any state that I'm aware of, the fines and penalties and time spent in jail is going to be astronomical, but yet these clowns let you take fish, which is as important as any other form of wildlife in every state across state line, to be put in these pay ponds, and that is wrong. And any legislature or conservation agent that does not think so should resign his position immediately. One piece of wildlife is no more important than the next piece.
Yeah, and the next point I'll make is a little sensitive, but what we have wanted to stress to the legislators is we do not want to shut down commercial fishing. Okay, that is a misconception.
That's right.
And what we have full faith and backing on is I want the commercial fishermen that what I call are the fish fillet guys or the chicken nugget guys that go out and catch catfish to sell to, again, the fish markets where it may go into human consumption. What we do have an issue with, and I think everybody would agree, is it's taking fish, large, small, medium, and indifferent, and sending them into pay lakes to die a slow death because that's a waste of the resource. So our goal is to slow down, if not shut down, the transportation of those fish to pay lakes. The commercial fishermen can still fish for, again, fish fillets, chicken nuggets, etc. We haven't even brought up the dog food issue now. Kentucky's bringing in dog food plants, and now they're taking catfish and they're cutting them up into dog food.
And Missouri was going to do that with Asian carp, and for whatever reason it fell through. And the protein factor in Asian carp is way superior to catfish. So why are these guys not targeting Asian carp? They're an invasive species. They're a nuisance to everybody that's on the water instead of the catfish.
Yeah, there's some scientific information. I know Rob Benningfield has explored this. I don't have it on the tip of my tongue about. Evidently, there is some differences between if you make catfish or Asian carp into dog food. I don't know the answer to that. But so to kind of keep things rolling, I know there'll be more questions coming in. On October 26th, we had a big presentation. I think there was some support on the Wildlife Commission that, hey, there's a problem out there. We need to figure out what we're going to do. And all those comment cards that we filled out at Monsters on the Ohio, that's what enabled us to get this audience with the department. That was key. And initially, the commissioners thought that they were going to vote in November on certain regulations. And then what was determined was, well, the anglers, the sportsmen such as us, had an opportunity to get in front of the commission. Other stakeholders, call it the commercial fishermen or pay lake folks, should have their day in court, especially if they may be negatively impacted by any regulations. So that's what was the original delay from the November meeting that took place. So fast forward to where we are today. There are 2 meetings coming up, February 9th and in March, and then following in May. And those are the Kentucky Wildlife Commission meetings, where the commissioners can accept proposed regulations. But what happened about 2 weeks ago is, working with our team members, specifically Aaron Wheatley, we wanted to also approach the legislators to make sure that they were involved in this process. So we had a very big meeting about 2 weeks ago that included the following folks. We had Commissioner Johnson, we had the Deputy Wildlife Director Waldrop, we had Ron Brooks, we had the Colonel of Law Enforcement. There were 5 legislators. Myself, Jeremy Coe, Scott Kress, Rob Benningfield were all in the same room, and we had some pretty tense discussions about where we go from here. And it was the directive that was given by Representative Tommy Turner was, we are going to form a committee of legislators, of department folks, of wildlife commissioners, and then 2 folks from our world, 2 folks from Pay Lake land, and 2 folks from commercial fishing land. And now here's some very sensitive points that I want everybody to understand, is that what is being discussed at these meetings is that they are saying that we agreed to a 5-year study and we agreed to the existing regulations, okay? Now, we're not going to argue whether or not we agreed to the regulations now, but what we are going to argue about till we're blue in the face is that the current regulations are unenforceable and they have not been enforced. So Representative Tommy Turner directed us and the department to figure out a way to make the current rules enforceable and close some loopholes. Okay. I know everybody out here is saying, what does that mean? Well, we know exactly what we need to do to close the loopholes, and some of them are in this presentation and some of them are not. But that's going to be our agenda, is we are pushing for as much catfish conservation as possible through these committee meetings. And ultimately, we're probably going to need some more of your help as it relates to rallying the troops. So again, I'll pause. I know I've been talking a lot. There's a lot of moving parts, but Doc and Lyle, where do you want to go from here?
I have a question personally before Doc gets started, and this is something that's very dear to me, and I'll give you some background on why I'm about to say what I'm going to say. In Missouri, my home state, catfish is a sport fish. And not only is it a sport fish, it is the #1 fish that is fished for throughout the state, far ahead of bass, crappie, and all the rest of the fish that is fished for in our state. If your people would do the checks on them as Missouri has done, I am quite sure they would find it would be the same in your state. And why is the people not pushing to make catfish sport fish in all the states?
So that is one of our recommendations, to have catfish be classified as sport fish. Now, what that would do is it would not alleviate it from catfish from being commercial fish.
Right.
It would protect them from people shooting them with bows and arrows and other kind of crazy methods. So it is important, and it is one of our recommendations that we have made to the commission. But it's not central. It's not #1 on our list, but it is on the list.
Well, I have been told through our conservation department that any state that does not push that will probably never get regulations until that is passed. And now, what the guys that told me this is in confidence. I can't help myself but to tell it if they tell me they didn't want me to tell it. They should have been putting it out there. But I have been told flat up that any state does not have them as sport fish will never get the regulations that they're wanting.
Yeah, and again, one of the bigger dynamics that we're running into here is that, each state is unique. Each state has its own history and heritage, and commercial fishing in Kentucky has been around a long time. So, but you know what? The times are changing, and as I mentioned earlier, the 3 biggest things that are demanding of the resource right now are, the fish fillet folks, the pay lakes, and now dog food. In the pay lake industry, The demand is astonishing, and that's probably the biggest issue out there. And the department in Kentucky recognizes that there is a pay lake problem. So they have said that on the record in our meetings that there is a pay lake problem and there are changes coming. What are those changes? I don't want to speculate at this juncture. I know what we're after, but they do recognize that that area is putting an undue burden on that resource.
I have said this before, and people look at me kind of sideways, but there is a place for pay ponds. And I'll elaborate on that just a little bit. I had a nephew who passed away a few years ago that from the time he was 16 years old, he was paralyzed from here down. He would ride his wheelchair down a curvy blacktop road to fish in a pay lake because the only place that he could get to. And I could never take that away from Nathan when he was alive. I never could. But those guys that are running in pay ponds, in my opinion, should either have to raise the fish themselves or buy them from farm-raised ponds. There is no way that any legal representative of any state-regulated government facility could possibly consider letting them having them out of public water to be tortured and put in a pay lake to where they're not being fed. They're chemically induced to make them bite. And when they're caught, one that starts out this big around is this big around. That's some kind of torture. It has to be animal cruelty. I mean, they need to step up their game and get with the program.
Yeah, we've been really driving that point home. And another thing that, I don't want to, to debate is that the department says that the fishery on the Ohio River is fair, and they're not from a population standpoint, they're not worried about the population, which again is sort of mind-boggling. Now, again, I'm not a biologist, I have a different background, but we can't debate the biology studies. Now, what I can tell you is the state of Ohio this year is starting their own independent catfish survey on the waters that are contiguous to the state of Ohio. So we will have another source for true, biological certified studies, so to speak. But, look, there's so many moving parts to what's occurring right now. And it's exciting. It's stressful. Are we going to get everything we ask for? Absolutely not. But I can tell you what, we are going to push for everything we can to conserve these fish. And again, Kentucky recognizes pay lakes are an issue. They can only regulate the pay lakes in their state. So we have pushed for them to, again, why would you let people send your resource outside state borders into a pay lake? And if you send them into a pay lake in your state, that's your prerogative because that's their resource.
Well, I would think that they would be concerned about people bringing fish in from out of state, and maybe they have a problem with those. But there is a couple of things in chat, Chris, that I wanted to visit with you about.
Absolutely.
One of them is comments about bringing PETA in, and I understand where these guys are going with that. If you get PETA involved, they can get them for the mistreatment of animal abuse and different things. In my opinion, I think that's the wrong way to go about this, because once you get them started on that, then they'll be taking over other parts of it. Next thing you know, we're fighting them to get them back off. Yeah. And I understand the idea behind it. Do you agree, Doc?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that at this point we need to leave them out of there. But that's not saying at some point, if these government facilities don't get off their ass and do something, that it's not an option down the road, but not now. I think they'll be detrimental to what we do. And I'll see if I can find this other point.
So Lyle, while you're looking for that,
sure.
Just to follow up on that, I would agree. The most important thing that we can do as a group, and again, this is a group, we don't all agree on what line we're going to fish or what rod holder or what hooks we use, but we all agree on conservation. So here's what's important is that we're together. If you can attend a meeting, they're not going to talk about catfish on February 9th, but here's the scoop. If you go to the February 9th meeting and you have a sign around your neck that says "Save Mr. Catfish," or you have it says that I love catfish,
that's outstanding.
If you have anything around your neck and you just sit there like a bump on a log, they're going to know that we're watching them, that we're involved, okay?
That's a great idea.
The other misnomer is that, look, there's going to be a time, probably in the next 3 months, when we raise the flag and say we need as many people to show up to a meeting to be vocal. Okay, if you cannot come to those meetings, and even before then, write letters. Letters are the same as you showing up in person. I guarantee it. That's the way governments look at it. If you write a letter, it's the same as you're standing there in front of them. And then we are going to be at the Catfish Conference. We're probably going to have some more petitions. We're going to have some more things there. Mr. Douglas has been kind enough to give us a table out front. So we're going to be working on some stuff. Again, I don't want to announce everything yet because there are folks on the dark side watching what we're doing. But we need to stay together. We need to talk to the legislators. It's about economics. It's about dollars and cents. It's about taking care of the resource. And it's about doing what's right. Look, we're all mad, but we can't do anything that's inappropriate. We can't stand up in a meeting and say, you know, the F-bomb or this, that, and the other. It's about being respectful. Right. It's about being passionate. But, you know, so that was talking about PETA. To your point, we don't need PETA at this juncture. But it's again, it's about staying together and working together. So I'll pause again. Sorry for rambling on.
Before I let Doc get in here, but because if I don't say something, I'll forget it. One of the things that I've been saying for a long time, and I catch some flack over this because some of these guys are pretty high strung. Their passion is in the right spot. We all know that it is. This is the political end of our sport.
Yep.
And if you can't play the politics game, contact people like yourself and others that do play that game, because you can actually do more harm than good if you can't play the political end of it, because they will eat you alive. I know that a lot of guys, well, I'm tough and I can talk to these guys. No, you can't. They'll make a fool out of you. They'll put you on the back burner. And if you make them mad, everything you want done will just kept being put back, put back, put back. Politics are politics. And if you can't play the political game, contact someone that does, give them your concerns and push through it that way. Don't set us back any further than what we are. And it's not just in this state, in Kentucky. It's with Ohio. Illinois, my God, Illinois, I don't even want to get into that. But, you know, any state that would say in one day that they want to do something for catfish regulations and then open up bow fishing them the next day, there's some screws loose over there.
Yeah.
But strength, you're right, Justin. Strength is in numbers, and it doesn't matter if you're from Ohio or Kentucky or Illinois or Indiana or Missouri or where you're from. We got to unite. We got to stand behind us when we need regulations for Kentucky or Ohio or whatever state it is. Send them letters, send them emails in. Whoever's in that state, get those email addresses and send them in. Them people have to read them. If you can flood them email boxes to where they got to spend every day for a week reading them, you're getting your point across. I know that works in Missouri. I know for a fact it does. They've asked me to have people back off before because they couldn't get nothing done. So if you don't think it works, you're wrong. When you start getting letters in, Chris, where they say, please stop. We can't get anything done. Wow. You know you're making your point.
It's funny you mentioned that. When we started sending emails to the wildlife commissioners, one of them in particular was a little bit, I'm not sure he was expecting, you know, it's a quasi-public role that he's in, and we essentially blew up his email inbox, and he called the chairman and goes, what in the world is going on? You got to stop this stuff. Yeah. And the chairman's like, I can't. So he kind of called and said, hey, can you back this off? We said, absolutely, as long as you got the message.
That's right. And that's basically what we done, because they would call me up and say, please, you have to stop. And we would give every person that I could get an email address on, we give them all. And they'd all get them.
Yep.
And they sit there all day long reading emails. Yep. And you're making a point when that happens. They know you're serious about it. And like Justin Browning said, numbers speak volumes. Yeah. It doesn't matter what state you're from. If you send an email to them, if I send one to Kentucky, they're going to read it.
Yeah,
that's their job.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Doc. I get a little wound up about regulations because I've been promised, and the people that has helped me in the past kind of fall by the wayside. Here I am fighting these guys by myself. So I know what these guys go through, but I still tried to play the correct way with it. But it is important to me to get these regulations, not only in Missouri, but in Illinois, Iowa, Kentucky, Ohio, and everywhere else, because we need them. We're losing our fish.
Yeah. The meeting on February 9th, what do we need to do?
So February 9th is the next Wildlife Commission meeting. There is not going to be any item on the agenda that pertains to catfish because, again, it's now in this other committee. So one thing I do want to clarify is this special committee that was formed, which we have representation at, it'll be myself and Scott Kress attending those meetings. It was actually ironic because the Pay Lake folks in Kentucky were trying to get me thrown off of the committee because I'm a non-resident. But I think we've secured that I will be helping represent our group along with Scott Kress in that meeting. Nevertheless, that committee is going to work together to come up with regulations, recommendations, and then that goes to the Wildlife Commission, we believe, in May. And that's likely when we'll need to have as many voices there as possible, but we may need them there sooner. If you have taken a vacation day and or are free, if you live within a bike ride or a short car ride of Frankfurt on February 9th, go sit in the audience. Be respectful. It's okay to have a little sign or a hat, have a catfishing hat. It's okay to go up to the commissioners after the meeting and say, hi, I am Chris DeBow, and I am passionate about catfishing. When it comes up later this year, please vote for it. That is acceptable. But we can't stand up there with, pitchforks and torches and stuff and point at people and whatnot. But so, Doc, if you're free February 9th, absolutely. I know there's going to be some folks down there. I may or may not be there. I'm coming back from Texas. But there will be some key dates coming up, which we will be communicating.
Okay.
That's all you got, Doc? You got to have it.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm still looking at.
Well, Chris, we thank you guys, you and Mr. Crest and Mr. Wheatley and all the guys that are working on this for doing it. And believe me, I understand it's a slow process. I know that they fight you every step of the way. I also know that they will give time to the Pay Lake guys to get their ducks in a row. I know that they will give time for the commercial guys to get their ducks in a row. They feel like they should all have time, but when you get a chance to move on them, the rest of us look at it at the point that we need to go now because we got them in the position they need to be. And that's what I've said about Missouri and Illinois fighting on regulations. Missouri would do it. Well, they don't want to cross Illinois' lines. Well, when they lose all their people, they have only a third of what they usually had. Now's the time to get it done. But they sit there and ride their thumb and don't do it.
Yeah, and Lyle, it is hard to sit and wait in terms of, because there are some bad offenders out there on the commercial fishing side that have been breaking rules. I can tell you that there's likely to be one or more press releases by the United States Department of Fish and Wildlife. Some of the commercial fishermen, it sounds like, have been breaking rules and are going to have their day in court with the big Fish and Wildlife Department.
Well, good. We have a lady, Sue Clark, would like to know what the name of your Facebook page is.
Our Facebook page is, so pardon me here, I'm going through different things. Our closed group, which you can be invited, I think, and again, I'm not sure on all the things, but I think you can be invited. It's called Catfish Regs 2017, I believe. Catfish Regs, and you can message me if you need more information on that, but we can get you kind of plugged in. We were just trying to make sure that we knew the folks that were on the other end, and it wasn't a fake account or somebody in Thailand trying to infiltrate our group.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Well, Sue had made a post earlier that she had a bunch of signatures on some sort of a deal, and it went by so fast I didn't get to read it. So, Sue, if you will send us a message at Catfish Weekly or send Chris a message on Facebook or something and explain more about what you got going, maybe we can put some of this to good use, because in that chat, it goes so fast that it's really, really hard for us to all keep up with everything.
Yeah.
And then, Lyle, did you get that link I messaged you? That it's probably something we can circle back on, but people may want that link that I sent. If not, I'll actually publish it on my page too, which has a link to Exposing Pay Lakes and the presentation as well as what you can be doing.
Yes, when we get done and I get the show uploaded and all the stuff that I do after we get done and doing a show, I will make a post and put that link on there for them people to be able to look at. What?
Exposing Pay Lakes.
What's that?
Go down one.
That's as far as it goes.
There.
Or message the Exposing Pay Lakes Facebook page. Yes, any of those places that and those guys get a lot of views on their page, and it would be a good place to put stuff like that also. And Steve Douglas says he'd like to thank you for all your hard work, as would I and Doc, because I know how much time gets put into this stuff. It's astronomical. You can make a part-time job or full-time job out of doing it and doing it the correct way. And believe me, it has to be done the correct way, or you'll not get any reception from any of these leaders.
And there are a number of folks that are very near and dear to my heart that help behind the scenes. I just happen to be kind of the talking puppet right now. So, but there's a lot of effort that goes in behind the scenes.
That is correct. And a lot of these people, a lot of them know it, forget it, or doesn't realize how much effort is being put in there. But a lot of people work really, really hard to make this stuff happen. And believe me, we all appreciate it. If we can get one state, whether it be Missouri, whether it be Kentucky, whether it be Ohio, to pass some substantial regulations, the rest of them would have to follow suit to some extent. They would have to.
There are the people that are watching this process right now from outside the state of Kentucky. It's amazing. There are fish and wildlife departments in all these states that are watching. Some are nervous, some are excited. But yeah, it's we're hoping that we can take it to the next level. Couple closing thoughts now in terms of and Doc is the Pay Lake industry is going to be meeting with the department in Round Brooks, I believe, next week. That's kind of their meeting, as they're entitled to present their opinion. I believe it's going to be just Pay Lakes in Kentucky, but I don't know. At some point after that, Ron Brooks will be scheduling this meeting of all the mines. It may or may not be before the Catfish Conference. But if it's after the Catfish, if it's before the Catfish Conference, we're going to have updates at the Catfish Conference. I plan on being at the conference, again, I believe for a better part of the weekend there. Again, thanks to Steve Douglas and others to get us a table there. So feel free to approach me at the conference. I'll tell you what I can. If I can't talk about it, it's not that we're trying to be closed, but we got some information that is just a little confidential at this juncture.
Yeah, you can't lay all your cards out.
No, you cannot. And that's, I appreciate the fact that you come on here, and I'm going to make you an offer that I make a lot of people, and I think some of them just think I'm saying it to be nice. Anytime you have information that you feel is pertinent to the masses as a whole, and you would like to use Catfish Weekly to get that message out, please contact Doc or I. We will make sure to make it happen, because it's so important that we get this information out to everybody. And personally, as a person, and Cindy and I come to Kentucky to fish. Thank you guys for everything you do. We're not residents. We come there because we have a good time, and we see a lot of people we only see once or twice a year, and we love going down there, but we need these regulations.
We certainly do. And thank you all for doing this. Appreciate you having us on there. Our crew's excited. And again, we're in a war, so we'll see how it shakes out.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is. Thanks again, Chris. Appreciate it, Mike.
Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate it. Thanks for the update.
Chris DeBow works really hard for us, Doc, and everybody. And I know he's got Mr. Crest behind him, and I'm sorry that I can't remember his first name, but Aaron Wheaton and Steve Douglas, Scott Crest. I know all them guys put this time in, and there's guys behind the scene that make such a mark on this. Justin Browning is one of them. Justin is got a high impact on things that happen in this, and we've had Justin on the show, and he can be such a great guest, and he can do so much good for this. He has a great pull with a lot of people, and we need to keep him involved with this. Make it happen, guys. Work with these. Send your legislatures or your DNR or conservation, whatever it is. Send them messages and tell them we got to make catfish a sport fish. I'm telling you, I promise you. If that's done, these regulations will be so much easier to get done. All right, Doc. It's been a long show. I know you're probably ready for bed.
No, I'm off tomorrow, so it's no big deal.
Well, all righty then.
I am going to give a tip for the night before
Let's
we
do it.
go. So I know everybody, you grab towels, stuff on the boat, you know, and you're always looking for a towel on your boat. If you're bank fishing for skipjack, you're always looking for a towel. You got a rag in your back pocket, and you're getting scales and everything else. Well, I've come upon a product called, can you see that all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is a tarp strap, and this particular one is called a shark. It's called a tarp shark, and they're tarp clips. And what you can do with these are all plastic, and they've got, as you can see, this little guy he's got a little fin here. He's got some stuff. He's got a hole back here, and you can open these up. And now these are made out of plastic, so you don't want to overdo it. But you stick this on a towel.
Hold her up a little, Doc.
All right. So you stick it on a towel, and then you crank it down. And now it's got that towel. There is no way that towel is going to come off. Okay. Then you go and take a carabine. And I've got some sitting right here.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So you put a carabine on there, and then you can hook this thing on a rod holder. You can hook it on your belt buckle. You got it right there. So this is you can't, it's made out of plastic. So if you over tighten it, it's going to bust. So, but this is a way that you can have a towel hanging around or having it right there on you, and it's a way, and it will not come off. It locks right down on that thing. I may experiment this summer trying to use these for, right now I use an Ardent culling system, and sometimes these clips slip off of a fish. So I may end up trying to use these. I'm going to experiment it with this summer. So
I can't see them hurting a fin.
The what? The fin on my shark?
Yeah, I don't see them hurting a fin.
Yeah, no, and they're rounded off. So, and this particular kind, you just crank down. They got ones that slide, and but that's all that is. It's a tarp strap. So that's pretty cool deal. Give them a try, and that's Doc's tip for the night.
That's a great tip, Doc. I can't wait to see one of those. I've not personally encountered that, but it looks like a great product.
Yeah, they run about, for 4 of them, they're about $2 a piece, $8 for a set of 4.
No, that's not bad. That's a great tip. Thank you so much. I got something that I want to tell people about. Today, Cindy had a meeting, and I was supposed to go with her, and we decided at the last minute that I wasn't going to be able to go. And she left to go to her meeting, and my daughter and I was sitting here, and I said, I smell something electrical burning. And we looked and couldn't find it, couldn't find it. I went in to get me something to drink, come out, and Heather says, that cord's hot. And I went over and looked, and the cord was hot. And folks, if you're using these, I highly recommend that you quit doing that. We could have lost our house today. And this is the one that run my computer. Not one computer, but 2 computers. Our internet service box, printers, monitors, everything that has to do with everything that I do in here other than build fishing rods runs off of this, and there will be no more of them. I don't know that we would have ever caught on fire, but you're not going to convince me we wasn't pretty close. Yeah. So wintertime, we're using a lot more electricity than we do any other time of the year. Please check all your connections and things. If you're using something like this, that's what you do with them. Hook them up directly to a outlet. They are made for the draw that you're using. If you don't have enough outlets, get some more put in your house. Whatever you got to do, do not lose your house. It's ridiculous to take those kind of chances. And I should have known better, but I didn't know, sir. It did not trip the breaker. Never tripped the breaker.
It
So,
won't. Yeah. Major Brown just posted on here, and I was just getting ready to say it, so I'll read it. You need a surge suppressor with a high joules rating.
Yep, I agree. And I have one that's plugged into an outlet that runs the computers and stuff, but it was plugged into that extension cord. And I also, when we went to get it, because I can't reach everything without extension cord, I got a 12 gauge wire extension cord to replace the one that was on it. I thought it was a big one, but it must not have been big enough. But anyhow, I just want to caution everybody, we use a lot more electricity this time of the year, so be careful what you do, and we don't want anybody having those kind of issues or anything else. We had a great show tonight with Chris on here and Terry. It was a really good show. We had a lot of viewers. Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you guys for your likes and subscriptions and stuff that you're doing for us. Them likes and subscriptions mean more to us personally than it does to our channel, but it does help our channel. But as long as we're getting those, we know that you're appreciating what we're doing, and we'll work even harder to make the shows better for you all the time. What else you got tonight, Doc?
That's it. Just appreciate everybody watching Catfish Weekly. Next Monday night, we have the Little Johns on here.
Michael and Terry should be a great show. I messaged with them the other day, and I specifically sent Michael a message, and Terry answered it. And what I'd asked for was a picture to post up with their things, and he sent me a picture of Terry. And when I said, well, do you have one of both of you? And she sent a message back and said, he said to tell me that she was the promotions part of it. He was just the promoter. So which I thought was kind of funny. They're a great couple. They do wonderful things for the sport. And I honestly believe Terry can put you on as big a fish and as many a fish as Michael can. If you haven't checked out their videos, Michael and Terry Littlejohns on YouTube, they have some great videos. Some of them are 2 or 3 years old, but they have some newer stuff, and they're starting to do more of it again. It'll be a really fun show. So until we see you next Monday night, thanks for watching Catfish Weekly. I'll be posting up the stuff tomorrow morning. Chris, thanks again for everything you do for our sport.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
See you then.